grass is never short. It's time to sit down and let the Degens cook. That's right. You know they're coming through and hitting heavy. It's time to talk some Dynasty and talk some Debbie. My guys is never short. Time to sit down and let the Degens cook. Ow!
What's up, my Degens? Thank you for joining us. This is Dynasty Degens. If you're new to this, you're in for a treat, man. Definitely in for a treat. It's a little different today. I do not have my trusty co-pilot with me. He is dealing with the storms of Canada. He is always in chaos. My man is like, he chose Canada, and I get it. Canada is definitely, you want to be in Canada for the most of any situation, except for the fact that you are dealing with a snowstorm 99.9% of the time. And you are in constant in and out of possible communication. He has no internet. He has internet. He's like calling me on a landline phone right now. He's in just I don't know. They're living in 1942 out there, man. So I hope you're safe out there, brother. I don't know if you're under ice or whatever it is, man, just, send me a letter, I think, at this point. But we got a good guest tonight. So I'm missing my co-host, but I gains an able body. I would say more than able. I would say a young buck, a young strapping
able body
buck
works, man. That's fine.
New to the game, man. And I saw this kid doing content on X. I saw my man just really just pumping out, man, and doing like good content. And I like to really applaud and reach out to people that not just do new content, but new good content. And I think that's what my guest here especially does, because, man, I look at your videos, I'm like entertained. I think that it's you just giving me information in the best way possible. And I think that that's something I appreciate across the board. But I fluffed you up enough right here. So
I was going to say, man,
Colton Dodgson. So you can find him. He's a writer for FootballGuys. He's got his own pod. It's Scramble Drill Pod. Colton, what's up, brother? How you doing?
Well, first of all, I have to say that intro was awesome. I was sitting there like mesmerized by that, just watching it. That was sweet. Second of all, huge shout out to your co-host. I hope everything's good there. I'll try to pick up the mantle, I guess, and help you out for this episode. And then I thank you so much for all of that. It's been a crazy ride, just starting out, and we talked about it a little bit before the show, but throwing stuff into the void and just hoping that it's resonating and the formula's working, and tweaking the formula and all of that stuff. So I appreciate you saying all that, man. It's just the beginning. I'm trying to grow, trying to get better, and I'm just excited to be here and talk a little ball with you.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you jumping on, man. It's not easy when you first get into content creation. It's not easy no matter what. Like I started content creation about 4 years ago, and I think that you get to the point where you hit walls. It's really tough to grind this out, because you're like, I'm at the point where I have a family and, I have kids and stuff. And I'm like, what am I doing writing about a G5 commit, coming out of high school right now, when I could be outside playing with my kids? But also I don't think it's always cut and dry. You got to have a balance. You got to have, your life separated a little bit. But it's tough and gratifying all at the same time. And I don't think it's gratifying because other people tell you you're doing a good job, but it's more about you essentially do this for yourself, right? Like you want to do it for other people. You want to help other people. And that's really the most important part of doing content creation. But ultimately you want to prove to yourself that you can essentially build something from the ground up. And you want to show that all of this work and everything you put into it is there's results, right? Like you're 100%. Seeing, the labor of whatever you put into it. You're going to see some net value there. And it's, I'm always going to reach out to people and be like, dude, keep grinding, man. You know, and if you
Yeah.
don't want to anymore, don't push yourself. I've seen
Yeah.
this industry dry people out for sure.
Definitely. I think the motivation has to be intrinsic. You know, you have to be fueled by like the passion to want to do this, and that's what gets you through. At least in my experience, that's what's gotten me through. You know, posting videos to 0 views and you know, slowly but surely building an X account and a YouTube channel. Joy that you get when you get into the numbers and you watch the tape, and all of that motivation has to be intrinsic. You can't be motivated by the what comes as a product of the process. It's got to be like falling in love with the process. I think at least that's what I've found while doing it.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't even realize what you're happy about until you're like, oh man, I just edited a video for the first time, or I just wrote my first article. And you know, like it's things that you're getting out of your comfort zone, because I think a lot of this stuff wasn't really what we had in mind when we started content creation. Like I was like, okay, it was formidable to make a video. It was like crazy to write an article, you know, but once you do it a few times and you get into the rhythm and stuff, you're like, you're like, oh wow, like I made things that people actually prosper from, and it helps them out. And possibly, you know, the idea of winning leagues based off of our content is awesome to think about.
For sure.
How'd you get into this, man? Like, to just tell me before we get into our takes and what we're doing today, tell me how you got into content creation and what got you started.
Yeah, man, it's a crazy story. Like since graduating college, you know, it's just been one thing after the other. I was a uh, reporter in Washington State covering, you know, the COVID pandemic, and then I was a locksmith, and then I was a teacher. It's just so crazy. Like, but fast forwarding through all of that, I was essentially an English teacher, doing some copywriting stuff on the side, just trying to stay sharp. You know, I've always written in some capacity. It's something I've always enjoyed doing, and, you know, doing that in the sports capacity particularly. So threw out a feeler to Joe Bryant of FootballGuys to just get some feedback on something I had written. And then I had been subscribed to the newsletter for a long time that Joe puts out every day. Noticed in that newsletter that there was an opening, or they were bringing some people on to help out with content. Applied on a whim and did not expect anything more than the typical, like, this is good. You've got something here. Keep grinding. We'll see what happens down the road. Because that's typically like what you get in sports media, right? When you reach out and apply for positions, it's usually no, but you're good. You're just not that good. And FootballGuys has been like a complete departure from that. I got a reply from Dave Kluge on like a random Tuesday asking to set up a time to talk with Joe. Joe and I had a conversation, and he brought me on, and that was in November of last year. And it's, I mean, I was telling you about it a little bit before the show, but just such good people. I was talking about some of the experiences I've had in sports media with people, and like night and day, right? Like FootballGuys, I know, you know, Jeff Bell and Dave Kluge, I mentioned, Alfredo, even Jeff Blaylock, who I came on with. I've had great experiences with him. So anyway, kind of rambling about it a little bit, but I can't shout those guys out enough. Everybody there. It's just been an insane ride. And now I'm in such a good place and looking to grow. And I'm in a place where I can grow. And I think that's the most important thing to me.
Hell yeah. Yeah. The FootballGuys are friends of the show for sure. I've had Kluge on here. I've had Wilfredo. You know, all the guys have been on here at some point, Kevin, Jeff Bell. So yeah, I mean, I can't say enough about what they do in the space, what they do for content. And it's been a healthy work environment. You know, like one of my best friends in the space, Jagger, was with them for a while. Yeah. And he still does stuff with Jeff, you know, like he's still involved, even though, you know, he essentially went over to FastDraft, which is something we're going to talk about later a little bit. But all right, let's, you know, we're talking about you. We're getting into you a little bit. I want to just dive into everything you do. Tell me what you watch at home. What's your favorite TV show? And then tell me the character from that show that you most want to like play a league with, like be in a dynasty league with. Who you think would be the most fun to do that with?
Yeah, man. I saw this on the show sheet and I just went with the first show that came to mind, right? Because I think or the first couple, I was really struggling between two because I think that's the most genuine response. I got King of the Hill is just, I'm watching that constantly. And then, the new season's coming out in a couple weeks. So I'm big on King of the Hill, and I love Eastbound and Down. I like some of the HBO shows. I was going to shout out Silicon Valley too. All three of those are elite. So it's like splitting hairs for me. But if I'm going to join a league with a player or a character, I should say, from those shows, I landed on playing in a league with Hank Hill, because Hank is going to reach for all of the Cowboys like really early. And that's going to work with like CD and the big guys. But once he's drafting like Miles Sanders in round 4, right, the value is sliding down to you a little bit. And I think I would do pretty well in a league with Hank Hill. And then I've got Kenny Powers from Eastbound and Down, because the videos would be electric. The league chat would always be popping. And you need a guy like that in your league. Somebody who's going to keep the energy up, right? Somebody who's going to live in the group chat and get everybody fired up. So that's what I've got for you. I've got Hank Hill and Kenny Powers.
I love that, man. You picked like locker room guys, like obviously Kenny Powers is somebody that is totally going to be all vibes all day. Like, like taco league to the fullest though, where he's probably going to be like bored of shit. He's going to be sending out crazy offers. He's just going to like not take it seriously. But at the same time, it's going to be fun as hell, And then Hank Hill, I don't know, man. I don't know how he would even, I love watching King of the Hill, but I don't think I like Hank Hill that much. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think
he's just such a ho-hum guy, man. Goes about his business.
He's a ho-hum guy. He's just he's just like very by the book, conservative. Like, I don't think he'd be a fun guy to be in a league with. I think you picked like polar opposites, to be honest. But
I agree with you. I think the Hank Hill thing was like the draft. He's gonna create some windows for value.
He's a pumpkin, dude. He would just like have no idea how to play it. And that's cool too. You need those guys, I think, for sure. Especially in home leagues, man. I think 99% of the content that you see, like with these trades and everything on Twitter, is like guys just really taking advantage of like the Hank Hills of their home.
I was going to say the Hank Hills, man. You have to have the Hank Hills, and you have to have the Kenny Powers. They
are flexing Hank Hill trades like constantly out there, and you're like, I don't know if you shouldn't be flexing this. Like, I don't know why this is out here right now. But to segue into it, man, we're talking about Dynasty Dawgs. We're talking about guys that we just want on the teams, and it doesn't matter if it's because they're super productive or we see this crazy outlook on them, but like we just are in love with these guys. These are our guys. These are the guys that like through thick and thin, no matter what the narrative is, I think we're going to hold on to these guys. We're going to hope and pray, and we're going to just say these are the guys that are going to make it through the storm. Like you could say this about anybody that was like a Bryce Young holder, or you know what I mean? Like any of these guys that you hold on to them, you say they're not dead. I've been holding on Justin Fields forever, and I've been waiting, and I'm like, this is my guy's year. This is my guy's year. He stubbed his toe today. It's okay. But at that point, you have these guys that you are just true to. And I think that anybody that plays Dynasty long enough understands it doesn't mean that like we think they're the best player ever, but it means they are special to us. We have high hopes for them. We think they're going to hit. We know they're going to hit, and we're just going to wait until they do, kind of thing, Let's start position by position. So
let's do it.
Holy we got my man in here. He's got internet. You sly dog, you. Maddog's alive and well. He is not under snow. He's not out there cooking baked beans on the fireside. Like, you're alive, brother. I love to see it. All right. We're talking QB. And I think I'm going to go to you first, because you and I love the same QB. I'm going to pivot. I think that we talked about this a little backstage where I did a full 45-minute pod on this guy. I'm probably not going to go into it too much details. But tell me your QB that is your dog and a little bit about why you picked this guy.
Yeah, well, I saw JJ McCarthy too, and I think that's an awesome pick. And you talked about it a little bit, like you said before the show, that Drake May has kind of been your guy, your dude, right? You did the whole solo pod on him and everything like that. But that was immediately who I thought about too, because I think we're in a situation where with Drake May where this is like the window where you can grab him before he enters a completely different conversation, right? What he did in that situation last year as a rookie, obviously things weren't great with Gerard Mayo. They went in a completely different direction after year one. And now he's got an established head coach with Mike Vrabel. He's got Josh McDaniels running the offense, right? They've invested in getting him some weapons, right? You go out, you get Stephon Diggs, who has made like a miraculous recovery from the knee injury. He looks like he's back, right? So that's big. And then you look at, I'm thinking like I'm really big on the offense in general, and I think we'll get to that with my wide receiver pick too. I kind of went back-to-back Pats, but I don't want to spoil that too much. But I think at least one, maybe two of Kayshon Boutte, Kyle Williams, and Demario Douglas, at least one, maybe two of those guys develop into consistently productive players because of Drake May. He also gives you the rushing upside. I think that's kind of an underrated part of the whole equation. He's a talented player. The situation from this year to last year is night and day. And then, not even mentioning Hunter Henry, the offensive line should be a little better. The run game should be a little better. It's an ascending situation with a talented player in that situation. So, like I said, I think this is the last window to like realistically acquire him before the value just explodes. And then you're in a situation where, like I said, he's in a different conversation, and we're not talking about him as like a value window type of guy, because I think that is what he is right now, especially if you're in like a startup or something like that. It might be hard to acquire him. A lot of guys are, managers are really high on him like we are. But if you're in a startup like that's a big, this is your chance to land Drake May before, he's somewhere else.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. You got your boy in the chat right now talking about undesigned runs when realistically, the coaching staff came out and they said that we weren't really calling runs for Drake May. We didn't want to see him get injured. We wanted to preserve him. They wanted to encase him essentially and make him preserve for next year, because they said we're not going to do anything this year anyway. Why are you going to let your rookie quarterback run wild in games that don't really matter that much? Like realistically, you're not going to, okay, you get Drake May to run another 50 yards a game. It's really not going to equate to 1 W's and then 2, just like overall success on him if he's going to get all that run. But he is a dual threat quarterback, and he was somebody that rivaled Jaden Daniels in UNC. I think that we're talking about his college tape. He was the 1B Russian quarterback in this draft class. Like he is a purebred running quarterback, and to have a white dual threat quarterback, man, it's kind of sexy, but like also like you don't trust it. You're like, man, he's like a little too white to be doing this right now, but I mean, I'm into it. Yeah. But I mean, you nailed it, dude. The offensive line has improved. They took, a right guard super early in the draft, and they've been spending money on their defense. And if you don't know, defense equates to good offense. And if you are essentially, you build up a monster defense, a defense that can keep their offense off the field, it means the offense is getting more run. It means that Drake May is going to get into a rhythm faster. Drake May it was tough to be in a rhythm when your defense is like got the offense on the field for 12, 13 minutes in a row. Like they were just letting them go from like the 20 to the end zone in like series of, multiple. It was just like the longest sets of time for a quarterback to be on the sideline. It's just incredible. If you just improve it marginally and you get him on the field faster, I think we're going to see much more efficient quarterback. I think that you're talking about somebody that right now is like in that Bo Nix range, give or take. I think that he's in that Jalen Hurts range next year. And I'm with you on that. I've been saying that for a while now. I think that you're talking about Drake May being a first round quarterback next year in Superflex Dynasty, redraft, whatever you want to do. I think that he's easily a guy that you want to grab now before it's too late.
Yeah. And you talked about the complementary element of it too, right? The defense helping out the offense helping out the defense, all of that stuff. And I think that's a huge element. And also like playing in an established play caller's offense, right? With Josh McDaniels, and how much of last year was like Drake May just trying to make the best of this situation as a rookie. And when is he freelancing? When is he just trying to make something happen? And now you've got a situation where he should be playing in an offense that has simplified things for him a little bit, right? He doesn't have to do as much, which you mentioned the efficiency. I think that leads to better production and a bigger output for him as well.
Yeah. I think that they've really designed this team extremely well for May to succeed. And I think that they've shown him that, this is what they're doing. It's not going to be a 1 year plan or anything like that. But I think they've done everything they possibly can to put Drake May in I think they could have really put more effort into the receivers that they got, but I think I am pleasantly surprised. We're going to be talking about one of them later in the show. Stephon Diggs was not somebody I thought was going to be ready for the season, not somebody I thought was going to be playing to the level that he's playing right now. I thought that Diggs was going to be on PUP and then probably ready by week 4, week 5 or something, and then he would probably be like unhappy by week 6. But Diggs does this though. We have to be very careful with this. He is very happy and he's manipulative and he shows everybody that he's like content and this is the best place ever. And he changes that fast, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like one game where he's overthrown or he only sees 4 or 5 targets and it's like, I don't know. It could blow up. It could blow up. But
now he's in a situation where you kind of look at him as like he's got to be the number one option, but he's also the veteran in the room, right? So you hope that doesn't backfire. You hope he embraces that role as like, I'm leading this new group of guys, right? Because it is a lot of young guys. I mentioned Kayshon Boutte, Kyle Williams, Demario Douglas, right? So it's one of those things where now the role has developed and Diggs is in the mentorship stage of his career, right? And it seemed so fickle with Josh Allen over. You mentioned like he's good one game and then he gets overthrown and he's upset, and just the energy felt like, okay, when is this thing going to shift and when is Diggs gonna ask out or whatever it is, right? So that's another element to this whole thing is you hope with a young team and Mike Vrabel's a big culture guy with everything he did in Tennessee and things like that. You hope that is strong enough to sort of prop Diggs up as somebody who can buy into this and really embrace, I think, the veteran angle to all of this as well.
Yeah, I'm with it. We're going to shift to my guy real quick.
Yes, let's do it.
You alluded to that. You alluded to the guy that I'm talking about, but we're talking about JJ McCarthy. JJ McCarthy is somebody that I was in on in college. And it wasn't because I thought that he wowed me by any means, but I think that what people are missing about JJ McCarthy is the offense that he was in. I get it. It was a run-first offense. They had Corum. They were really pounding the ball. Michigan, obviously Harbaugh over there. They just like really have that mindset. They're going to put the quarterback in the best position possible to have him succeed. But overall, the team has to succeed. And it was game management for the most part, but I don't think that's not how JJ plays the game. JJ has arm strength. JJ has speed. JJ understands pocket awareness. He has this overall poise that we're talking about. And even in college, he showed it. He knew when to hold the ball, when to pass the ball. You talk about these issues when these quarterbacks come out where they don't know when to get rid of the ball. JJ's never had that issue. He doesn't take sacks. He doesn't have this issue of, like he knows when someone's behind him. He knows when the pocket's collapsing. He understands this stuff. And that's intangibles that you can't teach a quarterback. Those are things that ultimately you got it or you don't got it. You have this awareness, you understand, mentally where you have to be and how you have to move. And JJ has that stuff. So if you combine all that stuff with the fact that he can throw far, he can throw accurate, he has everything you need, especially behind a excellent offensive line, an offensive line that made guys that were dust look incredible last year. I won't even mention him, but we know who was the quarterback last year. And dude, he was a top 5 in fantasy. He was putting up top 5 quarterback numbers for majority of the season, Yeah. And do I think that this man is dust? No, I think that he was put in many bad situations. And much like every quarterback, like when we saw Geno Smith and we see, these guys that have resurgence, Baker Mayfield, all these guys, they are in the NFL for a reason. There's a big difference between a good culture and a bad culture when it comes to the development of a quarterback. And all you really need is somebody that believes in you, that says you're our guy. And it's a lot easier when you're not watching your back every play, every game, every mistake you make. You say, it's my last game, it's my last play. But, with JJ McCarthy, we're talking about somebody that was already won in camp last year against Mr. Darnold. He was already ahead of him in the depth chart before his injury. Like, he already beat out the guy that was a top 5 producer to an extent for majority of the season last year. So we're taking a guy that's better and putting him in a position that is exactly the same and actually a little better at this point. I think that we're talking about, possibly an improved tight end position with Hawkinson fully developed and off of that injury for a full year. I just think that he is set up to dominate right now. And it's not because I think that he is going to just come in and it's all the weapon stuff. I think that JJ McCarthy is going to surprise people for the reasons that I just said. I said that he is accurate. He's got awareness. He's got intelligence. He understands where people are in the field. He knows how to read an offense. He was taken so high in the draft because he killed it in interviews. He killed it in the rooms where they said, draw me up a play, show me, this and that. And he understands X's and O's to a point where it's like not going to be a hard transition for him. I think that he's going to be as ready of an NFL quarterback as we've seen in a long time. I think he's going to come in and he's going to produce at a high level.
I 100% agree. And I totally spoiled that you were going with JJ McCarthy when I started my Drake May thing. So that's on me, my bad. But I could not agree more. I think that the JJ McCarthy, and I recently adjusted my redraft rankings and even moved him up in my redraft rankings. And he's back to back with Dak Prescott for me. And I actually moved him ahead of Dak. And I don't know if that's polarizing or crazy, but I am a huge believer in what JJ McCarthy is going to do. I think, one, you're looking at a situation where his rookie year was essentially a redshirt year, right? Like, he's in the system, he's learning the offense, he's talking with Kevin O'Connell every day, right? And that is going to bode well with that transition. You have absurd talent at the skill positions, right? Depth and, front-loaded talent with Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison and TJ Hawkinson, you mentioned. They bulked up the run game a little bit. Aaron Jones is still there, but everybody's really excited about Jordan Mason. This is a situation that propped up Sam Darnold as a top 10 quarterback last year, right? I think he finished as QB9 in the final rankings. And that's kind of insane given the fact that JJ McCarthy seemed to have won this job before he got injured last year. You mentioned that too. So this is a situation for McCarthy where he should feel comfortable, right? You would assume that based on how often he was around and talking to KOC and doing all that stuff, that he should feel comfortable with the system. He's already a very cerebral quarterback. He already understands the nuances of the game, different things like that. He's an accurate guy. You've got some athleticism too, right? If he shows that mobility after the knee injury, I think that's just a bonus. And you have all of these things. He was a top 12 quarterback, right? Picked in the draft. He was the 4th guy taken in that class. And I think a lot of people forget about that. There's a ton of talent here in a fantastic system, a team that almost won the NFC North last year, right? It came down to week 18. So I don't know what else you could ask for out of a quarterback in getting a guy who could realistically finish as a QB1. I think it's not even crazy to say he can finish as a QB1. The ceiling could be even higher. In the range that you're getting him, I think is a no-brainer.
Yeah. And that wasn't even mentioning the ADP that he's at right now. It's, if you're going to FastDraft and he's back end behind Geno Smith, behind Matt Stafford. He is just like deep in the cut, and that is best ball. And even in Dynasty, he is somebody that is, I think, has risen quite a bit. But if you were drafting in the offseason, you got JJ McCarthy in like the 7th round, like the 6th, 7th round, he was going next to like Jared Goff or, like the older mid-range quarterbacks, like the guys that have no rushing upside, the ones that are just falling behind in like the 3rd or 4th tier. So yeah, his value is incredible. Even now, I think that JJ McCarthy is going to be talked about in the Bo Nix tier next year. So if we're making comparisons and we're talking about guys like where Drake May is right now, I think JJ McCarthy will be next year. So
I like it.
I'm in on both these guys very wholeheartedly. I think that, we're talking about the future of the NFL. And I think that these two guys are going to be a big part of the elite quarterbacks for the next, at this point, what are they, 22, 23 years old? At least 8 years of Drake May and JJ McCarthy. And then whoever else kind of falls into that mold. But I think Stroud has to show us that he is more rookie year than last year. I think he will, but I think that it's going to be fun, man. We're seeing a lot of shakeups. We're seeing a lot of guys. I'm waiting for Josh Allen to fall off, and I'm waiting for a completely different tier of quarterbacks, because we're already seeing Mahomes slide. And that was like a mainstay in Dynasty for 8 years, 7 years, however long he's been in the NFL. 7 years, 6 years, 7 years.
Sounds
Mahomes
right.
has been in the league for a lot longer
this year, which is crazy.
Yeah, he's been in the league longer than people think. I think he's been in the league for like 8 years, maybe. Maybe I'm wrong.
He didn't play as a rookie too, so it hasn't been.
Came out older too. He was an older prospect. I think it was 23 when he came out. Yeah, nobody thought that Mahomes was hitting. I think the only guy out there was Matt Waldman. Shout out to Matt Waldman. Honestly, like he was the only guy completely in on Mahomes when he was getting drafted. It was kind of like he's a project, like, and people didn't feel good about him. I don't know. He doesn't have like great college tape. So Tom Brady-esque in a way. Obviously way higher DC, but
yeah. Sometimes you got to give those tools, the guys with the tools, those toolsy guys, you got to give them time, right? And maybe the Colts
and that's why
can take a page out of that book.
Everyone holds on to like AR-15 and Fields and these guys that have relatively good arms, and they are good in the pocket I can't say that. They're not good in the pocket, but like they run. So it's like, I think that you hold on to these guys a lot longer than you normally would because of the natural ability that they have, right? Like you're like Anthony Richardson is like the most naturally gifted human. I think that he probably doesn't put a lot of effort into learning football, but like, I think he's just a naturally gifted person,
Yeah.
So it's like,
I went back like, oh man, when was this? Probably earlier this summer. And I watched all of his passing attempts from last year. I just sat down and got into it because he was such a polarizing guy, like across the board. So, and the talent is unreal, right? And I think that's the big thing with him is like you see some of the throws you can make, like or that he can make, right? Like that throw in the Texans game week 1 where he hit Alec Pierce over the top for 60 yards, like falling back off his back foot. The arm talent's absurd. You see throws that like only he can make, and then the very next rep or like 2 plays from there, he's missing wide open guys. And it's just like if he ever unlocks that consistency, and I'm sure a little bit of time would have helped him with that. It was weird that they just kind of threw him to the fire the way that they did when that was like, give him time. That was the big thing on Anthony Richardson. But if he can ever unlock that consistency, man, I think the arm talent is pretty special with him.
Yeah, I agree. He's like me when I'm drinking and playing darts. Like I will hit bullseye like 3 in a row, and then I'll miss it and like it'll land and it'll hit the ceiling or something, and I'll be like, oh, I lost it. But like there's a moment where I lock in completely and I'm like, this is it, baby. You know what I mean? Like I'm like bullseye, 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 and then I'll just throw it like completely away from the board. It doesn't even hit the board, hits the wall. It's in drywall, essentially. Like it just goes. It's you hit this like really good primer. I feel like that's like how he is. He's got this like moment where he's like, I'm on, baby, I'm on. And then he loses it. And then he's like, I'm not getting that back, and that's so the thing about younger quarterbacks. It's mental like hell, because all right, when you are in a stressful I'm going to just harp on this just a little bit. I think this is fun to talk about, and then we'll move to wide receivers. When you're in a situation, right, a new job, a first date, whatever, when you make a mistake, you feel that flush, right? You feel that like it goes up your esophagus. It's like in your chest. It's in your hands. It's tingly. You feel like it's your heart rate going up. You're like, oh, fuck, I fucked up. I messed up, like, and you can feel it. It's emotional. You feel it in your stomach. You feel it everywhere, your whole body. That's what Anthony Richardson, that's what every quarterback feels when they throw a pick or they get in this emotional state. And if you don't catch it and really like nip it up and just like control it, it can snowball, right? It can like take over you, and you can get this anxiety of just like, oh man, like I totally messed up, and it'll eat up at everything that you do, anything that you do in the rest of the day. You'll think about it. You'll be like, oh, I mean, you're just having a bad day, right? After that mistake you made, after that mess up, you're like, everything that you do doesn't matter. You're hanging out with your wife, like whatever. You're just like, oh, it's tough. Like you're going through it all day. This dude, you can tell he just does that. He just like harps on whatever mistake he made and he can't get rid of it. And it just stays with him the entire game. And he's just sitting there like thinking about how he messed up. And then he's just like snowballing that mess up. And it's the difference between a good quarterback and a bad quarterback is just having emotional awareness. I think it's like being able to control your emotions is a complete gift when you're playing professional sports, because you can either unravel or you can control it and just go on to the next play and have it not matter at all. And you can tell 100%. The difference between a guy that can control it and a guy that has no control over it.
Yeah. And I think he wasn't ever given an abundance, and not like you have an abundance of time in the NFL, right? You kind of have to go, but the sort of guide on Anthony Richardson coming out was like he needs time. He needs to figure out how to put it all together, and that's where the mental aspect of this whole thing could have been developed if they gave him a little bit of time, right? And then they just kind of threw him into the fire, and it was like, let him figure it out. But you mentioned those mistakes, and like how mistakes, even in your day-to-day job or like on a date or whatever it is, how those mistakes just stay with you throughout an entire day. But imagine if that date is happening in front of 60,000 people in a stadium and you're mic'd up and you fumble your opener on this date and the whole stadium's listening to that. Like it's just so magnified when, you know, Anthony Richardson throws a pick. And now we're at a point where it's like people are getting impatient with him. We're talking about him being beaten out by Daniel Jones because there's likely jobs on the line if it doesn't work out this year, right? So everything has just compounded with him, and we're moving further and further away from like, is he going to be able to put it all together? Because I think it's been handled so poorly. If you wanted a pro-ready guy, I don't know if Anthony Richardson was the pick. You shouldn't have made that pick as early as you did if you needed somebody who was going to come in and be ready to go immediately, right? So
yeah, I mean, somebody messed up in some eyes wide shut party, you know, like they were like up there somewhere, and somebody said we're taking Anthony Richardson, and it's like, are we ready for that? And they said, who cares, you know? And that's the unfortunate part of, you know, developing quarterbacks is you take a quarterback and you have to adjust to the fact that they are going to need some development. No quarterback gets development in the NFL anymore. Like nobody, like Drake May was the closest one of this draft class to get some development. He sat behind Jacoby Brissett a little bit. Like he really just like, he didn't start till week 5, week 6. Oddly enough, Drake May and Jacoby Brissett, they used to go get steaks at my friend's restaurant every
sweet.
like every week. Essentially, they were over there, as in Wellesley, Mass. But they had bonding time. They hung out. They were boys. I'm sure they're still friends now, but like they were hanging out, eating steak, talking football, talking family stuff. Like it was just like, you know, he got that. Like you talk about journeymen all the time. They've been in the NFL, but like they understand what you need off the field more than anything else. Like they need that person that's going to, you know, hold their hand and help them out. You know, like you're not going to see Drake May in any, I don't know. He's not going to get in trouble, I don't think, at this point. But
yeah, and you kind of
let's
saw
move
that.
To wider.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I don't want to throw us off or anything.
No, we've been talking about quarterbacks for like 45 minutes. So.
I know, man. I was looking at the clock. I was like, we went in on this.
Yeah, it's good. Now I gotta hit us with a promo though. So we're talking about Fast Draft. We're talking about the Rabbit. We are starting a new Rabbit draft right now. We just finished the 21, so we're going to the $10 one. So if you go in there, there's also a promo for Scott Fishbowl, where if you go in there and do the free Rabbit draft, you will get a free donation to the Fantasy Cares, which is directly related to Scott Fishbowl, where, you know, obviously they're doing a lot of things for Toys for Tots and all that good stuff. So if you haven't gone in there, go to fastdraft.com, use our promo code DGEN. So you get a deposit match up to $50, and then you can go in there and do the free Rabbit. We're going to listen to Podfather real quick, and we'll come right back.
You asked, we delivered a full best ball tournament on Fast Draft, but we do it the Fast Draft way, and it's called the Rabbit, because of course it is. 20-second time clock, 15 rounds. These drafts, they take 20 minutes. That's it. So you get a lot of new people coming in and playing, get a lot of best ball bros playing, exploitable ADPs, no rake. It is the best EV in all of fantasy. You should just go to fastdraft.app, use code FAST. You get a $50 deposit match. These things are a blast, and it's the best use of your funds in all of fantasy.
Yes, sir. So go to fastdraft.com, go on in there, and use our promo code DGEN. Like he said, you get a $50 deposit match on there. Have some fun, man. It's honestly the best way to do best ball, and there's no rake at all. You're not going to get that anywhere else. So go on in there, no rake. Bang, bang. Just do it. Let's talk wide receivers, though. We're talking about our dogs. We're talking about our guys, and we're talking about Colton's guy at wide receiver, man. Hit me with it.
All right, man. This is my last Patriot, I promise. And I know I sent these over to you earlier, and you were like, "Are you a Pats fan?" And I'm like, "No, I'm big on this offense, man. Like, I think we're at a point where it's about to pop, and then values are going to be much higher than they are at this point in time." But I like Kyle Williams a lot, even in Dynasty particularly. But I'm even throwing darts at him in redrafts. I think I even landed him in my Scott Fishbowl draft really late too. I just think that, one, you've got the draft capital, right? He was a second round pick. You've also got the fact that I mean, Kayshon Boutte showed a big jump in year 2 and much more usage too. So he's somebody I'm a little higher on too. I think his progression has been a little promising. And then you've got Demario Douglas in the slot, right? And it seems like that's going to be his role. But I think Kyle Williams is such a versatile guy. And that's what you saw at Washington State. When I was going back and looking at him a little bit, obviously the deep numbers are great, right? The yards per route run on deep attempts, all of that stuff, everybody gets enamored with that. And that's all awesome because obviously that's extremely valuable. But his numbers on a scrimmage too, what he did with like designed targets where it's just get him the ball and see what happens, so to speak, right? Like let him make a play on those types of touches. He was awesome too. He was among the best receivers in the class at both of those levels. So I think that versatility in the McDaniels system could lead to some early playing time beyond the long-term outlook. And I think that's why he's a nice dart throw in redrafts late. And then obviously he can be a big time fixture on your dynasty rosters as well. I mean, I know you're going to get into your guy. I think your guy, I'm not going to spoil this one like I did the last one, but you threw hot take on the show sheet. And I think I don't want to be like the hot take factory or anything like that. So I had one that I was really going to lean into. And I think Williams is a dark horse to potentially have the best rookie season if everything breaks his way. I think the situation is right. I think there is a relatively clear path to him ultimately becoming the second or third target by the time we get into like week 9 to 17 range, 18 range, whatever it is. I think there is a path to clear playing time, and there is a path to like manufactured targets, and that could be huge on top of all of the down the field stuff you could get from Williams. So I like him a lot. He's a dynasty fixture. He can be a dynasty fixture for you at the wide receiver position, especially in your rookie drafts. He's a nice target, but like I said, redraft target for me as well late as kind of like that dart throw at the back end of your receiver group.
Yeah, I like the call, man. I like the call out, actually. I do love Kyle Williams. We were talking about Jeff Bell earlier. I did a full hour on Kyle Williams with Jeff Bell. Me and Jeff Bell
That's
just
his
sat
guy,
down
man.
and we talked about Kyle Williams. I do a rookie series where I pick, well, I don't pick them. I have anybody in the space. So I have content creators from everywhere. And I say, you're coming on the show. Who do you want to talk about? And Jeff Bell was like, I want to talk about Kyle Williams. I'm talking about the guy. And I have a short out there where he's the guy. Like he's like the guy. And that's really what Jeff Bell was talking about. He's a guy. He's the guy. He's somebody that, I watched a lot of tape of in college. I know Kyle Williams very well. The beauty of having a rookie show is you watch a ton of rookie tape, because if you don't, you look stupid. If you go on a pod and you talk about one guy for an hour, you better know what you're talking about. You know what I mean? Like if you can just talk about one guy for a straight hour, you better be talking the good stuff, because realistically you can usually talk about somebody for like 10 minutes and talk about everything. But yeah, so Kyle Williams, I know, is a dog. He's got release packages up the yin yang. He's got ability to move off of the line without moving off of the line. He is very elusive. He's got speed. He's got agility. He's got a package. Like, honestly, he's a very pro-ready guy. He's somebody that we're going to see line up in an offense that has no weapons whatsoever. We're talking about Diggs at this age, and then the door's wide open. You did say Boutte, Demario Douglas, like these guys are all maybes, they're all like, you hope and you pray that they become something, but they're not there yet. Like there's been flashes and I see the ability of these guys, but man, they're like wicks, like they're like guys that you don't feel great about, but you're just like hoping that they might break out a little bit and show a little more than what they've shown. I don't think that they're going to be more than a 600, 700 guy yard type. in a season, but I could be wrong. I mean, one of these guys is going to hit at this point, because they're not drafting guys like crazy to replace them. So they believe in Douglas and Butte for a good. I mean, I think they showed a little bit, but like, I think they could have easily drafted over them this year if they wanted to, or they could have done something. They had a ton of money, I don't think that a Keenan Allen or a Cooper is going to come over there, but I think that Diggs could easily get some friends over there if he wanted to. I think that they're holding on to this group for a reason.
Yeah, and they seem like there is, and you mentioned it, like there are a lot of maybes, and they're banking on that progression, right? They've seen some of the development from Kayshon Boutte and Demario Douglas. They've seen some of that progression, and now it's really up to them and really up to this offense to turn them into more than maybes, right? But you're 100% right. They've got to prove it.
This is the first quarterback that a lot of these guys have had in the NFL. So you got to just really go off of what Drake May has done with these guys. And I mean, before Drake May, it was Bailey Zappi and Mac Jones and a little bit of Brissett, like these guys haven't seen a quarterback that is starting the NFL.
Yeah.
And realistically, you got to see that through at least, So yeah, I mean, I'm with Kyle Williams all day. I'm going to Tatora. I can't say his name right. I'm sorry.
Just the attempt, man. That's impressive.
Can you just say T-Mac? I know, man.
T-Mac is good.
I
was going to say T-Mac.
Yeah. We'll just say T-Mac, man. I'm sorry, brother, but I know I'm not going to call you Tet. So, yeah, we're talking about T-Mac. We're talking about somebody that I think I'm a Devi guy, and I was always super high on T-Mac throughout his time in college. And, I think that his rise happened fast for a good reason, like he was suddenly just like one of the best college wideouts ever. And you're like, okay, like we need to see more of this. But realistically, his last season, he was a lock, like everyone had fatigue about this guy. Everyone just like was tired about talking about him at this point. And it was almost like, okay, is he the wide receiver one? Is he not? Like in every great wide receiver gets this treatment, like I think Justin Jefferson got this treatment. Jamar Chase got this treatment. These guys come in and they're so good for X amount of years. And then everyone's like, are we sure? Like, is he just a slot guy? Is he somebody that drops passes a lot? You start poking holes in these guys because you've been talking about him for so long. And it's like so hard to talk about somebody in a bright and positive light for people. It's human nature to eventually start talking shit about people. And it's unfortunate, but I think that's what you see in these prospects where it's like, man, these guys have been talked about so well. And you want reasons to get a hit. You want, mostly it's most of the time people that are trying to be against the grain and they're saying, oh, like, are you sure this guy's great? Are you sure this guy's really good? They want to be against consensus because sometimes if they're right, it's like, oh, see, I was right about this. Like I think there's no real reason for you to be against consensus when it comes to top elite prospects. And that's what T-Mac is to me. He's somebody that dominated in college. He has all of the measurables, all of the skill sets that you look for in an elite wide receiver. There's no reason to just say that he doesn't have the makings of somebody that can be successful in the NFL. But that's what we saw, and that's fine. But he landed in a spot where he couldn't be more dominating when it comes to target competition and overall just looks. I think that we're talking about an offense that has Jalen Coker and who's my Southern brother? I can't remember his name, man.
Xavier Legette.
Leggett. Yeah, we got
Yeah.
Leggett over there. And it's just like not a sexy offense at all. But we saw Bryce Young really kind of a little mini breakout last year. We saw him really consistently put together some good games, some great numbers when we're talking about just overall fantasy numbers and general NFL numbers. Like he was definitely throwing well. So I think that, with the additions that they had this year, the way that the team breakdown is, the way that they went and got this guy super high in the draft, like he's got great DC. They clearly have a plan for him. I vision him getting funneled targets. I think that he's going to be the rookie of the year. I think that he's going to suddenly be in that. I see people trading T-Mac plus for Drake London. I think that T-Mac is going to be Drake London. I think that T-Mac is going to be in that range. And you could say that's a hot take if you want, but like, I think that I'm so confident in his ability, the way that he's shown out, the overall skill set that he has. I can't imagine a world where he just flounders and isn't successful. And I think I'll clip this and I'll live by this. And if I'm wrong on this and he doesn't hit, man, you guys can lap this. I'll lap this myself. I'll do whatever. But I'm all the way in on this guy this year. And then I think that this year is going to compound and just make him an elite asset in Dynasty right off the bat. I think that he's going to have this rare rookie year where he just produces well. He shows enough. I think that he's going to have over 1,000 yards receiving. He's probably going to have upwards of 8-9 touchdowns. That's going to put him in top 15 wide receiver range right off the bat. You get that in your rookie year, you're set it and forget it. He's going to be like a 3rd round pick in Dynasty, 2nd round pick somewhere. He's going to fly up the boards.
I completely agree. And I don't think you'll have to I think it'll be a victory lap. I think you're not going to have to lap this in a negative way. I think he's going to be one of those guys that becomes a pillar of your Dynasty team. And he's going to be sought after if you're in redrafts and even trying to acquire him. You mentioned like T-Mac plus in like Drake May deals. Like he's already in that conversation and the value is already there. You look at situations and there have been some examples in the NFL where you have a lot of like number 2 type guys, the slot specialist type guys, right? You have players like that, and then you bring in a true number 1, like a guy like T-Mac, and you set him up as your wide receiver 1, and that puts everybody else in a much more favorable position. All of a sudden, you don't have to lean on Xavier Leggett to be your number 1 target. You can go to T-Mac. He can be the staple of your passing attack, and then everything around him becomes a lot more efficient, a lot more effective. Life gets much easier for Bryce Young. And you made a great point earlier with Drake May and Jacoby Brissett and the way that they sort of like hung out and like went and got dinner together and did all of that stuff. I think we saw something very similar with Andy Dalton and Bryce Young, right? And Andy Dalton was named the starter and had his little run. And then Bryce Young came back in and we saw the mini breakout, right? And then they bring Andy Dalton back. And I think that with, another year with Dave Canales, and then you've got Andy Dalton there for you on the sidelines too. I think this is an offense. You have the running game, right? I'm kind of high. I don't want to do a huge departure here, but I like Rico Dowdle a lot. I think that gives them a ton of depth, especially as like a check down option, because that's not something Chuba Hubbard has been particularly great at in his career. But I think T-Mac might have been the missing piece, and everybody else is now in a much more favorable position. And we're going to see the Panthers with a much more coherent, consistent offense over a longer period this year. And T-Mac is going to be the reason.
Yeah. Cool. We've been aligned with all these takes, man. And it's beautiful.
I know, man. It's awesome.
Let's go to running back, man. We're going to have to speed line this a little bit. We're at an hour right now. So
I'm long-winded, man.
I don't want to get you out of here. No, we're getting into takes, man. We're having discourse, baby, and we're just talking about it. And I don't care how long this takes at all. I usually go at 10 o'clock, so I'm I'm on free time right now. I don't even care.
I'm good too, man. Let's do it.
Cool. All right. So running back, I'm going to go first here. I'm going to talk about Breece Hall. I feel like Breece Hall is the man that's been so just disrespected. I think that everyone's being disrespectful of Breece Hall. I think that you guys are all very short-term memory. The thing about Dynasty, this is a Dynasty podcast. If you want to talk about redraft, you can join us on Sunday or Tuesday. That's when our redraft podcast drop. But in Dynasty, I think that, man, why are we having such short-term memory of Breece Hall? Like his finishes, the way that he's gone in Dynasty, I mean, he's not far removed from having a top 5 running back. I think that he was overall 2 at one point in time in finishes. And that was not too long ago. And really, you have to look at the team breakdown. You have to look at the scenario that he's in. I mean, you can talk about anything that you want, but if you watch his film, he still has burst. He still has pop. He still has long speed. He has the agility. He understands how to move and generally just like, is hard to take down. I think that, Breece Hall as a player hasn't lost anything, and he's at an age where he's entering his prime. And I understand that the offseason has been a little sketchy and it's been tumultuous, and it's just like people are very, they believe in Braylon Allen, or, like they don't really trust the Jets to be successful. But people have to look at the way that this offense is going to be run. Like I know Justin Fields got injured today, but with Justin Fields at the helm, we're talking about a rushing quarterback. That's a new dynamic they haven't had ever. A dynamic that opens up lanes for running backs all the time. If you're talking about really prepping for a rushing quarterback and then also having a running back, it's hard to go. Like, that's why you see these guys, like you see Saquon Barkley. I know that they have this elite front 7, but also a part of that is the fact that Hurts is a runner, and you really have to align yourself differently. You have to prepare for Hurts to be running. You have to prepare for anything in that backfield. When you have that different wrinkle, that dynamic, it produces better numbers. Not to mention that Fields likes to check down all the time. He's a check down king. He is somebody that's going to throw to pass catching running backs. And Breece Hall is a pass catching running back. He loves to catch passes. He's got that ability. He's got that in his bag. I think that we're talking about a resurgence of Breece Hall. I think that we're looking at somebody that is super undervalued. Even if they want Braylon Allen to get 5-6 touches a game, 7 touches a game, I'm fine with that. I think that benefits Breece Hall. I think that helps him. I don't want to see Breece Hall get 35 carries a game. I don't want to see Breece Hall in the game 100% of the time. I think that it would help him be more efficient if he had somebody in the backfield with him. If we look at all the teams now, what team has a bulldog? What team really has somebody that is a purebred 100%? I'm in the game all day, every day. We got the Derrick Henrys. You could maybe put a Josh Jacobs in there, and then we got the Saquon Barkley, and that's about it. That's the extent of the list when we're talking about guys that are the one overall boom. You're not going to see another running back ever. Like, you need somebody to take some time off. You need somebody to help you out. You need the assistance. I think that Breece Hall has been carrying the load. I think at the end of the last season, he was doing everything. He had a game where he ran 35 times. Like, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm just wheeling and dealing right now. But Breece Hall was the offense last year at the end of the year. He was just, they were like, oh, we're going to just like take it easy. And Breece Hall was running it like 35 times. And I was like, what the hell is going on with this? But I think it was just a sketchy situation to be in. I think that Rodgers really made it be known that he didn't want to be there. I think ultimately we're going to see a healthy work environment. We're going to see just a great situation for Breece Hall to be very productive this year. And I can't get over the fact that everyone, so this is really stemming from some disrespectful offers I've had for Breece Hall. I get 2 seconds for
That'll
Breece
do
Hall.
it, man. That'll do
I
it.
get a random 28 first for Breece Hall. I got Gibbs in my inbox. So it was Gibbs for Breece Hall, Isaiah Pacheco, a 27 first and a 27 second. And I said, brother, I love Gibbs, but get the fuck out of here. Like, stop it.
You're
You're
not
silly.
that low on Breece. Right?
Like, are we really at the point where we're gonna add a 27 first, 27 second? And I mean, by no means high on Pacheco, but like, he's not an ancillary piece. I think that he could probably be very, very productive this year. You know, I think that team is set up to have a very good Pacheco year, actually. But yeah, I'm not there yet. No.
I know it's not good content to agree with each other and have no sort of like no debates, I guess, but like I'm so aligned on Breece Hall. I put out a video I want to say yesterday talking about how high I am on him. I like him a lot. I think this offense is going to be a lot of like establish the run and utilize that for the play action element to be effective, right? And everybody's so concerned with the rise of Braylon Allen and how much work is he going to take, but you're exactly right. Like, you kind of want somebody back there to spell Breece Hall so that you can get the most effective version of him when he's on the field. And even in the dumpster fire that was the Jets offense last year, he was still top 15 among backs with at least 185 attempts and both yards after contact per attempt and breakaway percentage, right? He had a 40.4% breakaway percentage in 2023. It was only 28.2 last year, but he's still one of the more explosive backs in the NFL. And he's still somebody that you can, if you can spell him and keep him fresh, he's somebody that can do that over longer periods of time. And I think that offsets maybe everybody's concerned about Fields too. And I think what I've noticed is Fields doesn't necessarily take away from touches so much as he takes away from touchdown production, right? Running backs are still going to be involved with Fields. You mentioned the checkdowns, you mentioned all of that. And then we're looking at a situation where Fields could realistically be the second or third target. I'll say, I don't want to go too crazy, but they have like nothing behind Garrett Wilson. You hope Mason Taylor develops into a guy who can be a primary read in that offense. But after that, it's Josh Reynolds, right? Is kind of the de facto wide receiver too. So it's Breece Hall is going to be a big part of what they do in the passing game. And then I think you're going to see that in play action targets and in third down work as well. Maybe the touchdowns come back, but he's also or regress a little bit, but he's also never been largely reliant on touchdowns for his production. It's been a lot of the explosive stuff. And I don't think you saw that vanish last year. I think we're in a window where a lot of people are down on him, and that creates a very enticing opportunity.
Yeah, I agree with you. And obviously we've been in agreement this entire time. Hit me with your running back. I'm going to listen, but I got to let my dog out this door right here. Cause
go
she's
for it,
losing her
man.
mind right now.
You are good.
You get into this take.
Okay.
Y'all listen to my man, Colin. I know I'm going to be off screen for 1 second.
All right, man. A lot of pressure, but I'll take it. Bashal Tootin, he is my running back. I think everybody's kind of playing Jaguars like Jaguars running back lottery right now because of the Liam Cohen connection, right? You're looking at like, oh, look at what Bucky Irving did last year, all of those things. And this is being the number one back in a Liam Cohen offense is obviously a productive situation to be in. You're also looking at a situation where to maximize that opportunity, it has to be a player who can be effective and efficient, both as a runner and a receiver. That's what we saw Bucky Irving excel at last year. And this guy is not going to, I'm not saying this is going to be a Bucky Irving scenario at all. That's not at all what I'm pointing at. I'm simply pointing at what the player needs to be in this offense to be in a role reminiscent of what we saw Bucky Irving take and run with last year. Because I think that's what everybody's like chasing a little bit with this. Is it Etienne? Is it Bigsby? Is it Bashal Tutin? Is it LaQuint Allen? Like, who is it, right? I think if you're playing the Jags running back lottery, landing Tutin, and he's probably going to be a little more expensive in Dynasty, but he is athletically, he's a freak, right? He's a little undersized, but the speed and the explosive ability are pretty elite. Needs to grow a little bit as a receiver, but he's versatile. And if he can develop into somebody who can be above average at both, at rushing and receiving at the same time, right? We've seen Etienne never develop into a consistently efficient runner, although he's been pretty good as like a volume receiving back. We've seen Bigsby only have 8 catches in 25 career games. He's probably not, unless we see some massive development in that regard, he's probably not going to be the go-to receiving back. So there is a window where if Tutin can give you a little bit of both, it makes it tough to take him off the field, especially as the season progresses. There's also been rumblings about is Etienne there? You know, what is his status like? And I am just operating under the assumption that they're all going to be there. I'm not a huge ETN fan, excuse me, but because of the inefficiency we've seen and the struggle to be consistent as a runner, but I think there is a window here, especially when you factor in the whole front office element to this, right? ETN and Bigsby are inherited guys by this new James Gladstone operation, right? James Gladstone drafted Bashal Tutin in the 4th round in a loaded class, right? Tutin may have climbed a little bit in a less stacked running back class. So you look at a guy who has all the tools athletically, right? He might need some time to acclimate, but he could be good at both. And if you're willing to bet that somebody is going to be the guy in this backfield, I think Tutin might be the best roll of the dice, so to speak, if you're trying to land that guy.
Dude, I have to tell you that I am a BC ticket holder, and I go to all the BC games at home, and I watched Tutin live in person against BC, and it was unpleasant. It was not fun. It was pretty awful, I'll be honest. Like, he really destroyed BC. I don't know if you saw the stat line for this game or even watched the clips of this game, but it was Tutin putting up, I think he had 165 yards, all-purpose yards or something, like with like 2 touchdowns. He really just like, it was gross, dude. I was like, I was into it because I was like, into this guy. I got to write an article about this guy. I'm talking about Tutin. It's so fun to actually see them play against guys that you can write about. But it was, it was tough.
Crazy.
I like what Tutin does. I think that he has some struggles when it comes to pass pro, but I think that almost every back in the NFL has some struggles with pass pro nowadays. It's like, you know, it's hard to have a complete package because running backs aren't all the same size and they're not all like uniformed anymore. You know, like the running backs position has transformed dramatically in the last 10 years. I think you are looking at anybody like the Devin Chains and stuff. Like, these guys have broken the mold for what you can be as a running back in the NFL. You know, I think that Tutin fits that mold more closer than he would fit like a Josh Jacobs or anything, obviously. But, you know, when you see him, he's incredibly explosive. And I think that you need explosive plays when your quarterback is Trevor Lawrence. I think that you need a spark plug on your team when you constantly feel vanilla. I think that Trevor Lawrence to me is a vanilla quarterback. You know, he lacks that big play, that dominator play. It just, you don't see it. You don't see like the incredible, 85-yard bomb that I just don't, I don't ever see Trevor Lawrence having these explosive plays. He's good at times. He's efficient at times, but he doesn't have this like wow factor to his game. And that's what we've seen. And I think that we can say that now after watching him in the NFL for the last, is it 4 years? He's been in the NFL for 4 years?
Yeah, that sounds right.
3 years? 4 years? I think
he was 2021 was his class. So yeah, 4 years.
Yeah, so this might be his fifth year. Fifth year. I think, he's been in the league long enough. Yeah, you need somebody that has explosive play ability, and I think that Tua has that. I think they're gonna be thirsty for it. They're gonna be like, I think that Hunter's gonna offer that up, but not consistently. I think that they're gonna have him on both sides of the ball. I think that it's gonna be. They need more than that. They need more, like a BTJ, and I think that the offense is going to be just good enough to the point where they're going to have a run game. I think the last year, especially last year, the team was awful. They didn't have a run game. It's hard to have a run game when your team sucks. The Browns broke that mold. Everyone's spoiled by the Browns. Like the fact that Nick Chubb was good on a bad team. But that's Nick Chubb, you have to be Nick Chubb status to be really good. I think that you need an offense that can move the ball to be a successful running back in the NFL. And that's just the reality of it. But a lot of things have to fall right, but I think they're in such a good position where Jacksonville could have a good offense and they could be looking at Tua as a spark plug initially. And then, like you said, it's going to be hard to get him off the field eventually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. It's one of those things where like ETN is going to give you one thing, Bigsby is going to give you one thing, but they're not going to give you both, I don't think, which is where the window is created a little bit for Tootin. And I will say this, if Liam Cohen can't make Trevor Lawrence happen, like it's not going to happen. If it doesn't happen with Cohen, it's not going to happen. So that's kind of where I'm at with him. I think Cohen, based on what he did with Baker Mayfield, and I went back and looked at kind of like where Mayfield was before Cohen got there and kind of what he did to transform Baker a little bit. It was like bringing the A dot down, making the reads, giving him more high percentage reads, taking the ball, like taking that risk element and minimizing it a little bit, which is what we've seen Trevor Lawrence struggle with, the interceptions, things like that. And he did that for Baker Mayfield. So there are some there is kind of a blueprint for if he can get Trevor Lawrence to buy into that, maybe we see some signs of life. But that's going to be one of the big questions, I think, of next season is can Liam Cohen unlock Trevor Lawrence?
Yeah, and this is a make it or break it season for him. I think that Liam Cohen took this job with the idea that it could be one and done. If Trevor Lawrence doesn't take a step forward and this team isn't successful, I think Liam Cohen is one and done. I think that it's going to be a tough look as a whole, but also wouldn't have an issue finding another job. But I think that he's in a position where he understands. It's like Gerard Mayo last year. You got to do something. You got to make a crazy development. I think that Gerard Mayo went into the Patriots last year and the idea would be that they were at a developmental stage already with the staff they had. I think that he was just in a bad spot. I think that Liam Cohen's in a bad spot. I think that, they take these jobs without really thinking about the repercussions. I think that there's no job security in the NFL anymore. But I really hope success for Liam Cohen. I hope that they do well. I got a bunch of lore in this pod, but I went to college with Liam Cohen. He went to UMass
Wow.
Amherst. Yeah.
That's
And
cool. That's sweet, man.
yeah, he's a good
that.
dude. He's just like not what you'd think and a college quarterback would be. Like you would not see him. I would see him at a party and I would be like, that's the starting quarterback. I'd be like, that can't be the starting quarterback. Like he was just like I don't know. Just like a random dude. You know, like you look at him and you're like,
look the part. Is that what you mean?
they just like didn't look like a quarterback for a D1 school. Like you'd just be like, man, you look just like just a dude, you know?
Yeah. I feel
Like
like those guys always translate though. The guy, because they've got to be so cerebral to get to that point. They have to know the game inside and out. And that's why you see the former quarterbacks like
that's the
end
thing
up
though.
in those
Like
positions.
Victor Cruz was on the team at the same time. When we saw Victor Cruz at a party, Victor Cruz was a dog, bro. Like you knew that he was on the football team. You knew that he was just like a thing. Like you knew he was going to the NFL. When you saw Victor Cruz at a party, you were like get my art. I want to get his autograph. Like, you know what I mean? Like that's like you fanboy that guy. When I saw Liam Cohen, I was like, I don't know about this guy. Like I feel like whatever. Like
he can blend in.
He blend in. But no, Victor Cruz, you knew he was going to the NFL. You knew he was like a guy, you know? Like he had security in college. Like people like watch his back and shit. It was just like he was just a guy for sure.
That's unreal, man.
But all right, let's go to tight end real quick. Let's get out of here.
Yeah,
let's get you.
Sounds good, man. All right, let's do it,
man. Give me your tight end.
You want me to go first? Okay. Yeah. So for tight end, I went with Terrence Ferguson here. I think this Sean McVay era, we haven't. It feels like it's been Tyler Higbee like the whole time, right? We haven't necessarily seen a tight end who can be the target that Terrence Ferguson can be play in this system, right? They haven't historically leaned on tight ends a ton, especially under McVay. And I don't think his time is going to be this season. It feels like that's still going to be Higbee's role this season, but it'll happen sooner rather than later. They invested a second rounder in him. He's clearly part of their plans. You saw him at Oregon get better and better and better and better until the point where he was a second round pick, right? Like the development, we talked earlier about, Kevin O'Connell and developing quarterbacks and all of that stuff. Infrastructure is so important for developing any player, right? From the coach to the guys around them, to the system, to all of those things. And the developmental infrastructure that the Rams have is it's got to be among the best in the league, right? With some of the guys that they have found and they've developed. You can look at Puka Nacua, you can look at the defensive guys, just that developmental that system that they have in place. I think that you might have to be a little patient with him, but with a guy that has sort of the profile that Ferguson has in this offense, I think he's going to end up being a big part of what they do. If it's not this year, I think it'll be next year. And then you're looking at kind of a top 12 fixture for years to come with Terrence Ferguson in this offense. So you might have to be patient, but I think the payoff is going to be worth it, especially when you're going to have to pay a premium for guys like Tyler Warren or Colston Loveland. And now maybe Elijah Arroyo is entering that conversation, and you're looking at Harold Fannin and some of the other rookie tight ends. Terrence Ferguson is going to be somebody that you won't have to pay the premium pick that you would have to pay for a Tyler Warren or a Colston Loveland. You can wait a little bit and still land a guy who's going to be really productive, I think.
Yeah, I love that call out. I think that Terrence Ferguson is somebody that you have to take seriously because, yeah, if they're going out and they're getting this guy and they're happy about getting this guy, if they are celebrating getting this guy. Like when we saw that, the team get the Lions, when you look at the war room for the Lions when they got Gibbs and they were high-fiving and hugging, and you have to trust the process. You have to see Sean McVay, go through the motions. And nowadays we get to see the war rooms all through the NFL, and we get to see the celebrations. We get to see how happy they are. Dude, when you saw McVay take Ferguson and you saw the team just react and everybody in the front office just say, all right, like we got it. Like Higby is fine, dude, but like Higby is cooked.
Mhm.
Like these tight ends, once they start getting injuries, it's tough, man, because they're like, I mean, realistically, like a lot of these guys are like an extension of the O-line,
Mhm.
they have back problems, they have knee problems, they got, everything, the way they line up, the way that they're abused and they have to block, and they do have, they play a little later, but they also have to develop into a different player most of the time when they play later. They have to be like the guys that play later are usually like the like the Gonzalez, you know what I mean? Like when we're talking about Gonzalez, like he is a catching tight end, like I think Higby was like a kind of a split out, like, play inside and really block, but also go out there for a couple catches and stuff.
Yeah.
The way that Higby played isn't going to last long, like you got to be a Kelsey or a Gonzalez, somebody that is like an extension of the wide receiver, like
Mhm.
that's how you're going to play in your mid 30s, that's really like, yeah, Higby's
Yeah.
a dog. Higby's great, but Higby's not built for longevity. So I don't see this being a Higby year. I think that Ferguson's going to get play. I think that they're going to share the field a little bit. They're probably going to mix and match. Yeah, you're going to have to be patient with Ferguson. You have to be patient with. We've been spoiled with rookie tight ends.
Yeah.
We have been.
Yeah. It
This
hasn't
doesn't really.
always been a position where like those guys came in and produced immediately. So like the Laporta, Brock Bowers stuff is I think we like before 2023 that just didn't really happen. So it's like we
No,
have
you
to remember that
never a
that's the
productive
exception.
first year tight end. Like it was
Yeah.
very rare. It was incredible. Like that Kyle Pitts got 1,000 yards his first year. Everyone was like, this is it. This is the unicorn coming to fruition, I think that we've been spoiled and now we think this is normal. It's not. You could talk about Ben Sinnott. Like Ben Sinnott's going to hit and people are going to be like, holy shit, I can't believe that happened. But he's like the McBride of McBrides
Wow.
right now.
That's big. Yeah, that's big.
Dude, he is exactly like McBride. We're talking about playing behind the exact same guy. Like we are waiting for an injury or a departure. And it's gonna happen. But Ben Sinnott is going to be a very good tight end in the NFL. And I swear to God, it's going to happen. And everyone's going to be like, holy shit, I can't believe it happened. But people said that about McBride, dude. People are like,
Yeah.
McBride was going in the 13th, 14th round of startups. Sinnott is going in the 13th, 14th round of startups. Go get this guy. Go trade him. Go trade a third for Sinnott right now. Just do it. Just go do it. He's dirt cheap. Get him in the throw in. Get him the whatever. Do a trade and tear off a wide receiver and get Sinnott for free.
Yeah, I'm in a dynasty league with Jagger and all those guys, so they might be a little too sharp. They might be onto it,
Yeah. Wait, so what dynasty league are you in? You in a Jagger?
Yeah, it's Jagger. Let's see. I think Jeff is in that league. I'm trying to think of who else. I'm new this year. They added me this year. Joey Wright is in that league too. Some football guys.
Okay,
some
so it's
other,
like all football guys. Yeah.
and then there's some other analysts in there as well. I don't have the league pulled up, but those are the guys I know in the league. I'm still trying to meet everybody and figure it all out with like other analysts and stuff. But yeah, it's once you're in a league with those guys that have been at it, for a long time, you're trying to find your way and not mess up too bad. Take your lumps, but try to be competitive. So
I mean, most of those guys are too busy to know what's going on anyway. That's what the thing about doing dynasty leagues with content creators is they don't pay attention to shit. So like you can run the wire, you can do whatever. You can just sit there and like pick up all the gems, and they're just like, what happened? Like they don't even know. They haven't been in the
those
league
guys
chat.
are locked in.
They haven't been in the league chat in 6 weeks. Like it's all good. You just run it, baby.
They're anomalies, man. They're locked in. I promise.
Before we sign off, I'm gonna make this as quick as possible, man. My tight end is TJ Hawkinson, and I talked about this a little bit earlier. If you're in on a quarterback, you got to be in on one of their pass catchers. I think that TJ Hawkinson is going to be a blanket for my guy JJ McCarthy. I think that we're talking about somebody that is going to protect him and then also get his money. So when you are somebody that is blocking for your quarterback, that quarterback sees you. They understand that you're taking care of him, and they're going to take care of you. So I think there's going to be a good symbiotic relationship where TJ Hawkinson's a good blocking tight end. He's going to get a lot of dump offs, a lot of passes, a lot of stuff in the middle. I think that and especially if we're talking about a Addison suspension, which could happen, could not happen, who knows? I think that Hawkinson's going to be a gem, and he's somebody that people are soured on, somebody that I think that if you had him last year, you were like, I don't know how to hold him. And he's cheaper than he should be. I think that Hawkinson is in Dynasty, top 3 tight end, top 5. I'll say top 5. I'll say top 4. Give me top 4. Yeah.
There you go.
He's
Split
4.
the difference. Split the difference.
He's 4. Yeah. It's it's hard to judge where you're going to take Kittle and Hawkinson. Like I would actually take Hawkinson over Kittle in Dynasty if I was maybe like a younger squad. But I think Kittle still has at least 3 to 4 years and is locked in as the number 1 target in that offense. Kittle's going to be maybe the tight end 1 overall this year.
It could be, man.
I think that it's very possible with all the stars aligning, with all the injuries, with everything that's happening. Kittle might be the entire offense. It might be the Kittle and CMC show until, no, I won't say that. CMC's not getting injured. Nope.
Yeah, you got yourself.
Nope. He's gonna.
You can't manifest it, man. You can't even speak it. I like it though. I think Hawkinson is like he's very vertical, right? He's used down the field a lot more than you see tight ends typically use, the air yardage per target and things like that. He's that piece in this offense. And you talked about, the Jordan Addison suspension and what could potentially happen there. You're not going to, because of the nature of the targets, he's not going to need a massive target share, which could be where you see that value window created. And then, he's further away from the injury too, which is going to help. I like the call. I think he's kind of a forgotten guy a little bit. And just another year of familiarity in that offense and further removed from the injury. I think he's going to surprise some people too. So I like that call. I don't think we've disagreed on one of these, which I don't know how you feel about that.
I think that all that means is that ball, dog. I think that's what it. I think that's what
I'll take
chalk it up
man.
as.
I'll take
I think
it.
that ball. I appreciate you coming on the show, man. I appreciate everything that you've said. I appreciate all the stuff that you share with us, with the Degens, with everybody in the chat. I appreciate you guys joining in with us. Colton, tell everybody where they can find you. So we got a full house right now. Everyone's listening. Tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find your content, everything that you have coming up, everything that you've done in the past, all the stuff that you want everybody to know about.
Yeah, man. First of all, I had so much fun doing this. Thank you so much for having me on. I'll come on whenever you'll have me. Just hit me up. We'll do it whenever. But as far as where you can find me on X at FFCDod, you can find me there. I'm pretty active. I also put out my podcast 3 times a week. It's called Scramble Drill with Colton Dodgson. Episodes every Tuesday, Thursday, or Saturday, and Saturday, I should say. That's on YouTube at Scramble Drill with Colton Dodgson, and then you can download it wherever you get your podcasts as well. So if you're interested in that, go check it out. I'd greatly appreciate it.
Dude, once again, I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you joining us, and I appreciate all of you guys listening today. So like I said, we have Dynasty Show tonight. We will be running it back. Devi's show is going to run on Sunday this week, and then we're going to have a special on Monday and then redraft show on Tuesday, and we're going to just keep it going. So bear with us for the weekend. We're going to have some fun. I didn't do the special today, but that's okay. I'm working on a lot of stuff. I have a new podcast that I'm going to announce probably on Monday, which is going to be really fun. So I have Stacy Perez, who's a good friend of mine, that's going to be running a podcast on Sundays. So it's going to be a redraft show on Sundays. I hope you guys all get ready for that and, jump in. And Chef joined us late, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate all you guys that have been listening or joining us in the chat, all that good stuff. But as far as Dynasty Show goes, we'll see you next week. Peace.